and we'll just like hop in from there. Okay. So that's awesome. Really good information. And I love that you're getting more protein and feeling more energized and satisfied. Yes. Okay, good. Okay, Ambria, how about you?
Well, hi, everyone. I know, Annie, you said at some point we'll talk about, how to make your cycle work for you instead of against you. Well, my week was a disaster. It worked against me and I embraced it. I mean, I didn't track food. I had corn chips in front of me. I had a of eating and drinking. And so I'm just pretending 12 weeks starts today.
Okay.
Like day one again.
It is never too late to restart, for sure.
So total refresh. I mean, I guess the nice part is I was mindful of it. Like I at least recognized, and embraced it. But so today is a refresh.
Okay. That's awesome. And that awareness is a huge win. Like I see that so many times with clients where they're like, oh, I had this disaster of a day or disaster of a week. And I'm like, let's dig into it. Like, how much of a disaster was it? And they're like, well, it wasn't as much of it. It was like half of a disaster versus like how it would have been before. Right. Or at least you're like aware of it. Whereas before you would have been like, well, this is totally normal. Like, this is what I have to do because it's like, here on
my kids' Valentine candy hidden for me. That's where we're at.
Okay, good. So this will be a perfect refresh. And then, if you're not tracking, that's okay. Just want to like hop in and get started with it. Do you feel kind of like Mary said that, you've been eating like super low calorie, or do you feel like you've just kind of been eating whatever?
So the first week was good. I paid attention and felt good. And there was some weight loss. And then this week was just a disaster. But no, I would say I've never been particularly low calorie.
Okay, cool. So then we'll just calculate your macros as like your baseline and like get you started right there. Okay, cool. And then Laura, last but not least, calling in from the car. I was hoping maybe you potentially be home, but are you there, Laura? Can you talk?
Hi, yes.
Oh, shoot.
I actually just pulled up just snow pants emergency this morning. So I found a pair for $5 on Marketplace and I just arrived. Anyway, so how did my week go? I did a great job tracking last week, like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Oh, hi. I'm sorry if I scared the crap out of you. Boo! Thanks for the snow pants. Okay. So it went really well. That was really awkward. I just scared the shit out of some dude.
I love how real all of you are.
Hi. Anyway.
We are.
I was just thinking in my head, like, this is actually like true on like, this is the train wreck of my life right now. Like, this is not abnormal. Anyway, so let's see. I did really well, and then it became Valentine's weekend, and Valentine's blew up. So I just wasn't really prepared. I didn't think about it necessarily. That it would be, I didn't think about it. I didn't plan. And I know I should have, because I've planned ahead before for things like this. And, I knew it was on the meal plan that we were getting pizza for Valentine's, but then I, ate cotton candy with my kids during the day. I didn't plan ahead. I didn't. So, and unfortunately I have a habit of, once I'm off track for the portion of the day, then I let the whole day continue off track. And then I have a really hard time turning it back on.
Laura, I'm not sure if you can
So-
see this, but I see like every head nodding. Does that happen to pretty much like everyone? Yeah. So like you're not alone at all. There's like 100% agreement on that happening.
So anyway, that's kind of how the week went. And now that it's Wednesday, you would think, okay, pull it back together. And I have had a headache that has lasted like since Sunday. I don't know what's going on. I think I might have like a sinus infection actually. But so today I was like, okay, Laura, you should like, eat better, feed your body good because you feel like crap. So maybe that'll help. And I didn't. Like we ordered out tonight. And so anyway, that's a really long answer for boo, and then kind of still a little bit of boo.
Okay. So, but the good news is you were doing great until you got on off track. So just like Ambria is going to be like, okay, restart, refresh right now, as soon as we get off this call.
Okay.
And you're going to be like re-energized from calculating these macros. And let me just see if there's any questions in the chat. Can you create recipes? Oh yeah, Laura's like a pro at that too. Okay. Okay, so thank you guys all for sharing with that. I love that because I think like we have so many common things that are coming up that you might not think to say, or like a question you might not think to ask. And then finding out that everyone's going through like very similar things is very reassuring, and like knowing like this is such a supportive group and everyone is going through the same things that you are. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into these slides for tonight. So first thing I want to talk about is the fat loss whoosh. Has anyone ever heard of this before? Does that sound?
Yep.
Yeah, you heard of it? Yeah. Oh, because do you listen to my presentation for Novo?
Well, that, and also I do a skinny call every Friday, and they all read these books and they talk about the whoosh. So
Okay.
yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to tell you guys what the fat loss whoosh. But first of all, I'll just talk about like what fat loss and weight loss feels like. Because a lot of people are like, you just look at the scale, and really the number on the scale it's important, but it is not the most important thing. And it's going to be the last thing that you see for a lot of people. Some people, that scale might be moving right away, but sometimes it might be the last thing. So there's so many other ways that we're going to measure. I like to call these non-scale victories, or, just non-scale ways that we're measuring progress. So measurements and progress pictures are huge, especially when we're doing macros, because what we're doing is building muscle and losing body fat at the same time. So as your body's transforming, the number on the scale might literally say the same number, but you look in the mirror and you have a different body, or your waist is smaller, where your muscles are, your quads, your biceps are bigger, your clothes are fitting better. You might just start feeling like a little bit leaner in, waking up in the morning. Maybe when you look in the mirror, you just see like, oh, I see my cheekbones a little bit more. I see a little more definition, like in my arms, or a little bit flatter in the belly, something like that. You might also just feel differently. You might start feeling more energized, kind of lighter, like less lethargic. And next week, we're going to really start talking about training and strength training and stuff like that, but feeling stronger in the gym, having more energy to work out, being able to lift heavier weights, stuff like that. And how your clothes are fitting. All of those things are important ways to measure and track fat loss. And then the scale, it should move, but it's probably going to be not right away. It might be, but it might not. So I just don't want anyone to get discouraged if they feel like, oh, I'm working so hard and the scale is not changing, because there's so many different ways that you might be changing or growing or transforming. So this is the fat loss whoosh, sort of a nice graphic I like that shows it. So when we lose fat, the way it happens is we only have a finite amount of fat cells in our body. Like as people get fatter, they don't get more fat cells. They have a finite number of cells, and those cells just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And so as you start losing some of that fat, the body doesn't want to like picture them like a balloon, right? It doesn't want to get like deflated or squishy or something. So as you lose a little bit of body fat, it's going to fill up that fat cell with water. So it's going to be kind of looking like this one. And mind you, water is heavier than fat, right? So, and as you add a little bit more, that cell is going to be more water and less fat until it's eventually all water. Once it's all water for long enough time, you're going to like pee a lot. You're literally going to like pee out the fat cell, and that is going to be the fat cell collapsing. And that's the fat loss whoosh. And as it happens, if you can imagine this cell is heavier than this cell. The third one is heavy. This right before you lose the weight, you're going to be the heaviest because that cell is completely filled with water. And then all of a sudden you're going to lose 1 pound, 2 pounds, 3 pounds overnight and be like, what the heck just happened? And that is the fat loss whoosh. So I like this graphic as well, because it kind of shows like with the weight on the scale, what it kind of looks like. So here, like you start at 165 and then it starts filling with a little bit of water. You're still at 165. And then as it's completely filled, your weight goes up and you're like, what the heck? Like, I thought I was doing everything right. Why is this weight going up? It's because you're about to lose weight and your body's preparing to get rid of all that water. And then the next day, boom, fat cell collapses. You lose a couple pounds overnight. But their body's just always making these gradual changes. So if you feel like you're hitting a plateau, if you feel like it's going in the wrong direction, trust the process, keep going with it, be patient. Another thing that if you're looking on the scale, it's super common to fluctuate in weight anywhere from 1 to 4 pounds in a day. And it could be up, it could be down. And I like to tell my clients, if it's down, you're losing weight, and that's awesome. If it's up, you're not necessarily gaining weight. More often it's water retention. And it could be from any number of things. It could be from eating a bunch of carbs. So carbs, once we eat them, they're transformed into glycogen, which is the fuel our muscles use to spring into action to do whatever we need our muscles to do. Each gram of glycogen that's stored in our muscles stores 3 grams of water. So that's a lot of water. So if you eat a bunch of carbs, you did not gain weight. You're just holding water ready to like fuel your body into action. Increased weight could also be because you're about to lose fat, because you're about to go through that fat loss whoosh. It could also be because of stress. It could be because of lack of sleep. It could be because of processed food or excess salt if you're, eating out or eating processed food. And it could be from a lot of water. It could be from not having gone to the bathroom. Like there's a ton of reasons why your weight fluctuates every day. So know that that's completely normal, nothing to be stressed out about. And also that's why daily weight averages are so important. So we're not just looking at one weight and just like freaking out and being like, oh my gosh, I'm up 3 pounds. You're that way we're able to get a really nice trend line to look at more accurate data over time. Does that make sense? Any questions about that? No questions? Okay, cool. So, yeah, so I love this too. Okay, so if your weight is up even 1 pound, that means you had to overeat by 3,500 calories. And I guarantee you, even if you had a crazy day or a crazy couple days, you didn't eat like 2 to 3 times more than normal, like in one day. It's just all those other things I just mentioned, the carbs, the water, the salt, and it's mostly water. So just flushing that water out and staying consistent and thinking of the number on the scale as scientific feedback, like data, is going to really help. Okay. So now you guys know the fat loss whoosh. You can kind of like wait for that to happen, and it's fun when it does happen and kind of reassuring. Okay, so what I want to do for the macro calculations is first I want to just go through the way we calculate it kind of with the slides so you can just sort of listen and watch. And then I'm going to ask someone to be a volunteer, and I will pull up your chart and just calculate it. And then you guys can follow along, and you can do your own, either like in real time, kind of watch what I'm doing and pull up yours on your computer, or you can just watch what I'm doing and then do it, you know, later tomorrow. And then when you have it done, just shoot me a message and I'll go in and check everyone's calculations to make sure that they look right. And if you have any concerns, I'll talk about like reasons for like special variations. Like Mary, we're going to do something a little bit different with yours. We'll talk about that, you know, tomorrow. Once you calculate it, just send me a message and I'll be like, okay, this looks good, you know, go with this, or like, you know, I make whatever changes I recommend. Okay, so, well, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is find your basal metabolic rate. This is how many calories you need if you're literally just gonna like lie in bed, watch Netflix. It's just gonna keep your basic like living, you know, keep your organs running. You're not going to have much energy. And this is where when people get on those really low calorie diets, the energy goes down because your body's like conserving the energy to like give the energy to like your heart, your lungs, your circulation and stuff like that. So that number is based on your gender, your weight, your height, and your age. Just those 4 factors. It's a simple formula. And then from there, we're going to determine your total daily energy expenditure, TDEE. And that means how many calories you actually need to go about your daily activities of living. So that's going to take into account an activity factor that's going to combine how many steps you have on average and how many workouts you're doing, how hard you're working out, stuff like that. And the beautiful thing is, it's all completely customizable. So I have some clients who, you know, walk 10K steps a day and love working out. I have other clients that say like, hey, I know like working out sounds great, but I don't have time for it. And either way, we make the numbers work for your life. Okay, so that's the next step. And then from there, that's going to tell us how many calories you need to just be at maintenance. So maintenance is calories in equals calories out. And if you're eating at maintenance, theoretically, you should not be gaining weight and you should not be losing weight. However, the calories in calculation is just simple math, but the calories out calculation is kind of an art and a science where, you know, it's going to depend on some of the things we talked about already, you know, your hormones, your dieting history, your activity level, what you're actually eating. So that's going to be where throughout the next 12 weeks, we're kind of going to be like being metabolic detectives and figuring out like, okay, is this working? If it's working, cool. If it's not working, what do we need to adjust as we keep getting closer and closer to the right formula? Okay, so from your total daily energy expenditure, from there, we're going to calculate your daily calorie goal. So this goal, it depends on what your goals are for your macros and your body transformation. And it could be either to gain weight, which, believe it or not, that is some people's goal, to just maintain. There are a lot of people are like, hey, like I'm, you know, pretty happy with my weight, but what I actually want to do is just like eat better, make sure I'm getting enough of the right things, maybe put on a little muscle, like see that body transformation, but not really necessarily lose weight, and then to lose weight, which is the most common. So then we'll calculate that, which is going to be a percentage of your total daily energy expenditure. And so that way it's not just like, hey, everyone cut 500 calories, because if you're a 125-pound woman versus a 200-pound woman, there's a big difference in cutting those 500 calories. So like how much we adjust it is going to be a percentage of your daily total energy calories. And then from there, we're going to calculate your macro portions. That's going to figure out of those calories that we said is your goal for the day, how many of those are we allotting to protein, how many are we allotting to fat, and then carbs are whatever is left over. Okay, so these I'm not going to go through because I'm going to go through this on the spreadsheet. Does anybody want to volunteer? Okay, Mary, you want to volunteer for me to
Mainly
do
because my math skills suck and
Okay.
I need help.
Absolutely. Okay.
Hey, Annie,
That's
I
what
have a quick
Excel is for. You
question.
got to get good at Excel.
I
You can do
know.
anything.
Yes. Question.
How, I'm sure you're gonna tell us this, but how often should we be updating this? Obviously, we change in age, we change in
Mhm.
weight, like how
Yes.
yeah.
That's a great question. So, if you change an age, go ahead and change it. But the general rule is as we go along, if you lose 10 pounds or 10% of your body weight. So like the lesser of either of that. So 10 pounds or 10% of your body weight. And then, so that's kind of the basic. And then as we get further into it, I'm also going to teach you guys, we're going to start in a deficit, but then we're going to start tiptoeing those calories up a little bit as we get closer to the end, because like I just said, our metabolism is always adapting. So if we're in like, say, a 500 calorie deficit, or that's really high, no one's going to be in a 500 calorie deficit. If we're in like a 200 calorie deficit, and then our body is like, okay, so we're going to like get it up a little bit. And kind of once we get that burning fire, it's like we're going to keep putting logs on it and kind of see how much can we push it. Is my goal for all of you guys is to really be eating as much as you possible, as much as you want to, and still losing weight. And so the way to do that is like get that baseline, and then kind of subtly just kind of like inch it up a little bit. And then long term,
Yeah, no, go ahead.
and then long term, I'll talk more about this in a different session, but there's a whole cycle, and most women, one way that women really mess up and men too, but I think it's more common, women, is always being on a diet until you either like fall off or binge or just quit or it stops working, and that metabolism gets really low that way. So what we are going to do is teach you it's like almost a year cycle where it's 12 to 16 weeks in a cut. Then you have to take a mandatory diet break to replenish your hormones and restore your metabolism for minimum 7 days, but up to like 3 weeks. If you still have fat loss goals after that, you can do a second cut for like 12 to 16 weeks. And then after that, you have to work back up to maintenance for like 16 weeks minimum. Even if you still want to lose weight, you have to do it. And then you can go into another cut. So if you think about it, it's like 4 months, 4 months, 4 months. You can kind of do this cycle until you get to your goal.
Got it.
So every time we finish one of those phases or start a new one, we recalculate.
Yeah. Are we also, I'm sure a lot of people are like me, I don't get a ton of workouts done right now, and I can't right now because of my concussion, but hopefully there will come a day where I can go back to like my HIIT classes, in which case, like, do I go back and recalculate because my activity level has also changed? Okay.
Yep. But I want you to definitely do that once you're like a week or two into that, not when you're like, hey, this month I'm like planning to go back to my 4-a-day workouts and then surprise it doesn't happen, but you've already like added those calories in. So your metabolism is like a little bit slow to catch up. So for today, I want everyone being really honest of like, okay, what is my actual activity level, and starting from there.
And to piggyback on that, since the TDE takes into account activity, should we also be like, for a workout, would we also add that into MyFitnessPal and then eat more?
Yes, that is a great question. Do not log your workouts or activity in MyFitnessPal, because we're going to take into that account in calculating your macros. And so then if you also put it in MyFitnessPal, it's going to add that back in. And so you're going to essentially, it's going to be telling you like you get double calories, and then you're going to be eating these calories and you're like, why am I not seeing progress? Also, another reason that this is preferable is because I want to steer everyone away from that mindset of like, we're earning our calories, we're earning our food. We're like, no, you just get to eat because you get to eat, and it's completely separate. So don't sync your MyFitnessPal to like your Fitbit or your Apple Watch, and it will ask you, it's kind of like a siren song, because then it gives you the little star like, yay, you worked out today. So just track that somewhere else other than MyFitnessPal. But yeah, that is a really good question. Okay, let me pull up Mary's.
Hopefully I gave you, I know I didn't give you the pictures yet, but I think I put the other stuff in there.
Okay, that's okay. I don't need any of that for tonight for what we're gonna do.
Okay.
Bear with me, guys, just 1 second here. Okay, I'm going to share my screen because I have hers pulled up. Good. Okay, so everyone should have your check-in workbook. And so by now, I have from all of you or from most of you, this measurements tab should be filled out with your starting measurements and starting weight. Starting next week, starting next week, I want you to start doing this check-in sheet and sending it to me. So this tab right here, this check-in sheet, shouldn't have really anything on it yet. But for next week, you won't have a full week of macros, but I see that for each date, there's a column and the dates are right here. I want you to go ahead and fill it in for next week. For the previous week. So that would be, send it to me either Monday or Tuesday. And the previous week would be like this week, Monday through Sunday. So keep those weekend days together. So for this check-in coming next week, you won't have a week of, you will have your macros because you should have been tracking them, but it won't be like under like trying to hit those macros. So don't worry about that. It'll all shuffle out, but you're going to report your average of your protein, carbs, fat, and then it should calculate your calories automatically. And then also fiber and sugar, which are all, MyFitnessPal will give you all these numbers. And then the rest of it is really important feedback for me in terms of like biofeedback as to your hormones, your hunger, your energy, your cravings, your sleep, how much water you're getting. And then as you go down further, it's just logging your any workouts, any steps. Hopefully there are steps, but any workouts, your steps, stuff like that. And then as you get down further, it's like reflection questions of like, how do you feel that everything went? What could have gone better? What was great about this week? What questions do you have for me? So going forward, you guys will each fill out, the column for the corresponding week, and then just send me a quick message in email or in Facebook Messenger. Just let me know it's done. And then I will check it out and give you detailed, individualized email feedback to this check-in sheet. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So everyone should have a tab that says macro calc. And this is a template. I made it, so it should be pretty easy for you to just plug in the numbers in the yellow areas. And Mary is not 200.
I think I put 151 in there before. I think I'm 149 now, so maybe put 150. I don't know.
Okay. 150. Okay, we'll just go 150. And then your height in inches?
I'm 5'6.5".
Okay, 66. And then age?
54.
54 years young. Awesome. Okay, so that will calculate, this is your basal metabolic rate right here, 1364. So
Mary, I just want to say I would have never guessed your age at that. I just want to put that out there. That is, you look absolutely incredible. Just saying.
Well, thank you. Always feel it, but.
Okay, so that is like, again, that's like just if you were just gonna like lie in bed and really like stay alive and not have any energy to do like your daily activities of living, exercise, moving about, thinking. Okay, so then to get to your total daily energy expenditure, we're going to multiply that BMR times your activity level. This actually can be a much broader range. So like if you're calculating this for, say, Division I women rowers, they would be up at, where do I have these? Right here. So anywhere from like 1.2 is completely sedentary to like 1.9 would be like college or elite athletes training twice a day, super hard. So for most of my clients, we're somewhere between lightly active, which it would be 1.37, or moderately active, which is 1.55. So this would be if you're working out like 1 to 3 days a week. The moderately active is if you're working like training 5 days a week for just.
I would say I'm lightly active.
Okay. So, and then the other factor is these numbers, this 1.37 or 1.55, they also assume that you're also getting like 8 to 10K steps a day. So if you're not, then we're going to take it down even a little bit more, like in between 1.2 and 1.37. So just like the average, or same thing here. If you're, say you're working out like 4 to 5, 6 days a week, but you're not getting those steps, we take it like 1.46.
I think lightly active. I have a 3-story house and a puppy, and I'm crazy busy, but
sure. That is where most of my clients, I will say most of my clients fall between light or this light moderate, either the like 1.35 or 1.46. Like 90% of my clients are one of those two numbers. Okay, so put 1.35. Let me just check the chat box. Definitely starting at 102. Yeah, Ariel, that would be perfect for you. And I will tell you guys,
just being honest, I'm like, I don't do, I mean, I'm trying to like do more, but like it ain't happening.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Is okay. I actually broke my rib once, so I was forced to be completely sedentary for like 6 to 8 weeks. And I recalculated my macros and I didn't gain any weight, even though I love to eat. And I just sat on the couch for weeks. So it really does work.
Wow.
Okay, so Mary, so this is telling us that you need to eat 1,841 calories a day to sustain your daily energy needs. Now, if you look back at your MyFitnessPal, what is that telling you that you actually were eating? Like if you look at the last couple days.
Oh my gosh, I'm like, my goal was 1310, and I'm like at least 500 remaining or more. So I'm not getting near enough.
So you kind of an average of probably like, we'll just say 1,300. So that's quite low. So I want to set you.
Yeah, use 1,300 because I have a few cocktails.
Okay. So
but it's low.
Make a note here. I'm going to call this a reverse diet, which means we're slowly increasing your calories up to maintenance. Okay. So for Mary, we're going to put this at 0, but I want let me just put a note here. Okay, so I'm going to set you here to start. So this might be like around where you're eating or like 100 calories more ish. Okay, so then for everyone else, you can set your deficit about 10 to 20%. The more leaner you are, the smaller that deficit should be, because your body doesn't have as much stored fat to lose. So if you feel like, you have 30 pounds or more that you want to lose, you can probably set it at like a 20% deficit. If you feel like about maybe 20 pounds to lose, then I would set it at 15. If you feel like 10 or less, you really just want to like streamline your nutrition, have that body transformation, I would set that at a 10% deficit. Okay, so go ahead and type that in here, and then that should come up with your, I'm going to change this, should be like 20%. Okay, thanks, Laura. Have a good night. Send me your macros when you're done with them, Laura, and let me know when you want to check them. Okay, so
Hi, Laura.
So for everyone else, it should be like a 10 to 20% deficit if you have fat loss goals. And I think everyone here does, but if you don't, if you're like, I just want to, feel good, set it right at 0. And so you're literally just going to be eating at maintenance. Mary, yours is going to be a little bit different because we're going to slowly build you up to where we want you to be as we build up that metabolism. So we're going to have you start here, 1341. So then this number right here should be everyone's goal calories. Okay. And then now we get to the fun part of like allocating how much goes into each column. Okay. So for women, the target protein goal is anywhere from 0.6 grams of protein per pound of body weight up to 1 gram per pound. So 1 gram per pound is kind of the gold standard that we want everyone eventually to be getting to. But if it's nowhere close to what you're eating now, it can be a huge, huge shift. Or for anyone who is bigger, heavier, like over 200 to 225 pounds, I don't want you eating like an all meat and protein shake diet, right? Because like you need to love your life as well. So no one's protein should be over 187 grams of protein, kind of max out right there. But this is a good time to look back at your MyFitnessPal and look how many grams of protein have you actually been eating. Like if it's 20 grams a day, and it shouldn't be because we started with like leading with protein, but if it's like 50 or 60 grams a day, like I'm not going to have you jump to like 100. We'll kind of baby step it up and get your body used to that. Okay, so Mary, when you look at yours, where were you eating protein wise the last couple of days?
So I'm like protein, like, so they give me the goal, right? So it's like 20% goal, but I'm at like 34, 40, but I don't know, where does it show grams in it? Is that your manual tracking?
No, this is really easy. Let me show you guys. This will make your life so much easier. So if you go to the bottom where it has those 3 dots and it says more, tap that and then go to nutrition, like a third of the way down the page. And then if you go to the middle thing across the top, it should say calories, nutrients, and macros. Macros, they give you a percentage, but nutrients, they give you the actual numbers.
Oh.
Yeah. And then you can change it right under nutrients in very small letters. It says day view. If you tap on that, you can do week view. And that's how you guys are going to get your average for the past week. You don't have to calculate it manually. So that's how you're going to get your average for the week. The other way you can do it is if you just go to diary and you have like your daily food. If you scroll all the way to the bottom and tap nutrition, again, that will come up with the exact same screen. So that's sort of a shortcut to get to it.
So my average protein is 62 grams.
62. Okay, cool. Yeah. So we put you.
It says my goal is 65, but that's not, goal is not.
Yeah. And yeah, MyFitnessPal will set crazy goals for people that are like unrealistic. Okay. So we're going to start you at 0.6 at the bottom end of the spectrum. And that's going to set you at 90 grams of protein per day. So that's a pretty big jump, but it's still at the low end of the spectrum. So start working on that. And if you're having, it's going to be a little tougher, especially if you're loving intermittent fasting, but think about, okay, that's 30 grams of protein for 3 meals, either like lunch, maybe like if you're doing intermittent fasting, I would probably say like lunch, a little snack, dinner, and then like a bedtime snack or something like that.
Well, honestly, I mean, when I eat breakfast, I get hungrier. So I think I probably should just start eating breakfast, even if it's a little later.
Yeah, right? That is definitely, I have some people do that. And as you are eating more, your metabolism is going to kick in. So if you're having trouble getting your protein, eat a little bit earlier. It'll just get everything burning sooner. Okay. So, and then, so everyone else do the same thing, pick, where you think you are, and somewhere close to where you've been eating. So it's not a huge shift. And then as we go on, we're going to keep kind of baby stepping this protein up. The more protein you have, the fuller, more satisfied you're going to be. And the more you're going to be able to put on muscle, which is going to help boost your metabolism. But we always want to make sure you're enjoying your food too, and you're not eating all meat, all protein shakes all the time. Okay. So then the next thing we calculate is fat, and that is a percentage of your total calories. So for fat, everyone, unless you're like right now transitioning from like strict keto diet, which is why I asked you about that, Ariel, everyone else should be with this, just start with 0.3. So 30% of your total calories that you're eating are coming from fat.
So we
And
don't
then-
look at the average nutrients on this one?
Nope. We just do it for
Okay.
protein, and then from there we take what's left over of the calories, and we're going to allocate it to protein and fat. So
Gotcha.
with the fat, 0.3 is a good place to start. Nobody should be under 40 grams. Like for women, we need to be minimum 40 grams to make sure, or for your brain health, for your hormones, to make sure you're absorbing nutrients and vitamins. So Mary, this puts you at 44. So that's great.
Mhm.
And then this template should automatically calculate. We do like 30% of your calories, and then figure out how many calories that is, and then divided by 9 is going to get your macros for your fat. And then carbs comes last. It just gets all the leftover calories. So that's another reason we want to build up everyone's metabolic rate and build up your calories, because your protein's not going to necessarily get higher. It just means you get more carbs. Okay. And then also, as we go into this, people's preferences are different. Some people just prefer to eat more fat, and some people really prefer carbs. So I will start with 0.3 as a baseline for everyone. And as we go through, if you're like, I am always going over on my fat, it's actually not a problem. We'll just adjust it so your fat's higher and your carbs are lower. And then vice versa, if you're like, I always have fat left over, but I'm always going over my carbs, or I'm always craving carbs, we can make that adjustment as well. So all of these numbers are adjustable. They're just like starting off places, based on these formulas and based on principles. And then from here, it's like the art and science of figuring out what really your body needs to feel good and to be at your peak performance. Okay, so then
What is my carb percentage?
So right here's the percentage is 43.
Oh, okay. So my average is 33.
You get more carbs.
I get more carbs. Pasta, baby.
Cocktails.
But I have to eat more calories to get the metabolism going.
Yep,
This
exactly.
is fascinating.
It's really fun. I love getting into the science, and I love teaching it too, because, knowledge is power. And I so much, especially as women, we're just like told, like, do this. And I'm such a questioner. I'm always like, why? And I won't do it, so, but if you know the science behind it and you know why, it makes it so much easier to comply with your own goals. It's so powerful. Yeah. Okay. So there it is. And then if you go down, you guys, I want to just point this out so you know not to worry about it. In about 2 weeks, we're going to incorporate a little more advanced macro tracking, where we're going to have some days that are lower in carbs and some days that are higher in carbs. I'll be talking about that 2 weeks from now. So for now, just know like this other thing is right here to calculate a high carb day split, but don't worry about it at all for right now. Okay. So what you're going to do is calculate your own macros, either finish up right now or do it tomorrow or what have you. If you have MyFitnessPal Premium, you can actually plug in these exact grams of macros. If you have the basic one, you're just going to be able to do the percentages to the nearest 5%.
I'm freaking going premium.
I have a few
my
clients
math skills suck.
Yeah, I have a few clients who have done that. I think you get a free 14-day trial. I think Michelle, you were doing that, right?
Yeah, I had the premium.
Yeah, they get a little hooked on it.
Laura
The
does
basic,
too.
the basic
Yeah.
is completely fine. The basic is completely fine. But I know all my clients who have done the premium like it and they stick with it and they get kind of hooked on it. So completely up to you. But if you do have the basic, what you're going to do is, well, either way, you're going to go to goals, and then about Can you see this? Yeah, about a third of the way down the screen, right under the gray line where it says nutrition goals, you're going to tap right in calories, and then tap on calories first, type in your goal calories, hit the blue check mark, and then you have to remember to hit the blue check mark though, or it won't update it. And then you can tap anywhere right here where it says, I'm going to get this, like right here where it says carbs, protein, fat, tap like right there anywhere. And then you are just going to scroll to like the nearest 5%. And it's close enough for right now for getting started. So Mary, if you don't get premium, I would say to look at this and do like 25% protein, 30% fat, and 45% carbs. If you do get the premium, you can just go ahead and plug in those exact numbers. Okay, I just have a few things I want to say, like special considerations. But okay, so before we go into any special considerations, questions about everything we just went through. Okay, Ariel.
Okay, I have two questions.
Okay.
So should carbs be our highest? And is that always going to work out that way?
It's not always going to work out that way. It's going to be different for everyone.
Okay. Second question.
But let me just say, don't be scared of a high number. That's like 100, 200 grams of carbs.
Yeah.
Everyone should probably be between 100 to 200 grams of carbs.
I was scared of the protein number from a 0.8, so I dropped it to a 0.6. So it was like 178 grams. I was like, well, that ain't happening. So,
yeah. So I'd start lower, and then start building up. And then the lower the protein, the more calories are going to allocate to carbs.
Right. And then how do you, and maybe this is like a question for the meal planning day, but like, how do you approach it? Because it's like, you have to balance the calories of it all with the macros. So I'm just like thinking ahead of like.
Yes, I will talk about that in like 2 minutes. I have like a slide on it, like a primer on it. Okay, Michelle.
So I'm going to nerd out real quick. Okay. There's a formula that I was playing around with my fat percentage. And it didn't update. So if anyone else wants to mess around with their fat percentages, just double check the calories.
Double check that the formula is working. Sometimes with Google Sheets, it doesn't like translate over. And I think for the fat, I might have just put like 0.3. So it probably won't update. So if you change that, make sure it changes the calories.
No surprise that I'm into the spreadsheets.
That's your profession. Annie, do you find that most of your clients, like I feel like I'm just like, it's so like mystified. Like we've been taught to like go low cal. Yeah. And it feels like it's absolutely the opposite.
Yes. They're like, and it's also a huge trust and mindset shift, where I'm like, you have to.
It's scary.
Yeah, it's scary. And so that's why, especially if you've been eating lower calories or if you've been eating like higher fat, lower carbs, start closer to where you are. We're just going to baby step into it because you have to trust the process. But I saw this meme that I thought was really funny. Like, we will watch an entire Netflix series because someone said it gets really good at the end and it's worth it, right? So this is the same. Like, you have to trust me. This works, is what your body needs. Is your body's going to be really happy and it's going to respond accordingly. Okay. Let me just wrap this up. So what Michelle was talking about was right here, this number 0.3, it's just set as like just times 0.3. So you can just change this square to be like that, if that makes sense. If you need me to double check it, let me know. So I made this into a formula instead of 0.3 times the calories.
Oh yeah. You're saving mine, right?
Yes. It
okay.
is.
Good.
Seconds ago it was saved. Okay, so I know we're a little bit over time and I apologize for that. If anyone needs to go, I'm recording this and I'll put it in the group. Probably not tomorrow because we're going to be driving back from Colorado, but Friday I will. So thanks so much for your patience. I just have like 2 more things I want to go through. So if you don't mind staying on, but if you need to go, I know some of you have things you need to get to. So meal planning.
Bye, Baby.
What? Oh, bye,
I
BB.
said bye
Yeah,
to BB.
so, yeah, I know BB has a meeting at 7:30. So bye, BB. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any specific questions, just let me know, BB. And also, did you see my message about Thursday? Okay, yeah, we're going to be driving tomorrow. So let's see if we can find another time to talk. Okay. Okay, so you guys know my dad was in the military. The mantra drilled into my head since I was born: fail to plan, plan to fail. The more you guys can plan, plan is going to set you up for success. So, and then on top of that, the more you can automate it, like every day for breakfast, I'm having this thing. Every day for lunch, I'm having this thing. It will really help. And if you just, mix it up enough to keep it fresh and not boring, you don't get sick of it, that is really helpful. So I will be doing this meal planning workshop on Monday, the 22nd. Let me just check the chat. Okay. Bye, Miriam. I will put the recording in the group, like I just said. Okay, so I'm going to be doing this workshop on a Monday. That's this coming Monday, so like 5 days from now, on meal planning specifically. But this is just kind of a primer. So the most helpful way to go about it is to look at your overall calories and macros, and then think about how you like to eat. And I recommend anywhere from 3, 4, 5 to even 6 meals a day, depending. Like people like breakfast, second breakfast, lunch, a snack, dinner, and a bedtime snack. Other people are like 3 square meals a day kind of people. So really, think about how you like to eat and what works for your life, what works for your family, your business, everything like that. And then divide whatever you decide, 3, 4, 5, 6, into roughly equal sizes, because we're kind of training our body to be ready to be like, okay, I know it's time to eat every 3 hours, right? So your body's like, gets that metabolism going, and then you're full until about 15 minutes before the next meal, and then you're hungry. So you're not like stuffed, you're not starving, but you're kind of just riding this wave of energy. So from there, you can plan. And just if you have no idea where to start, I really like doing 4 meals: breakfast, lunch, like an afternoon snack, and then dinner. And then, so for me, like, let's just say for example's sake, 2,000 calories, and you're doing 4 meals, you'd say, like, okay, I want 4 500 calorie meals. All of them are going to be roughly the same, especially your protein, if possible, front loading that protein so you're not at the end of the day trying to eat like chicken breast or yogurt or something to get it in, but at least equal amounts protein, and then your carbs and your fat. And then you can kind of start planning that way. So that's kind of the most helpful. If you have no idea where to eat, which you should, because now you guys have been kind of eating with the like protein, fiber, stuff like that, you can go back to my Nourish nutrition guide. And I have a couple different ideas for breakfast, lunch, snack, and dinner that are really easy to make, quick to make, healthy-ish, fit your macros, all that good stuff. And then really important to remember that this is a whole lifestyle shift, and this is a whole learning process. So really give yourself grace. Bless you. Give yourself grace. Like, we are changing a lot of things. There's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be days where you completely forget to plan. There's going to be days where you forget to track. There's going to be days where you get done and you have like 50 grams of protein left, or you went over by a whole bunch. Just give yourself grace about that and know, like, okay, I'm learning a whole new thing here. It's all about growth mindset and learning and getting better and practicing. And then last thing I have is just sources of protein. And this is, again, also in my Nourish nutrition guide, but generally, I know we don't have any vegans or vegetarians in this group. So, meat, either lean meat or fatty meat. But if you're eating all fatty meat, I have clients who, sort of started with that, and then they were going over their fat as well. But I like to really have a good mix of lean meat and fattier cuts of meat so that you do feel happy and satisfied, because no one is satisfied eating chicken breast all day, every day. Right? Like, that is not the move. So, mixing that up. And then other great options that people like sometimes don't think of is protein shakes, eggs or egg whites. I always have a carton of egg whites and like boost my eggs So much easier than like cracking the eggs and like separating the egg whites. Any, dairy stuff. I like the reduced fat dairy. I think we talked about this last week. I like the reduced fat dairy. It tends to have more protein and lower fat. And that way I kind of get more bang for my buck, where I can still have cheese or have whatever it is, and it still tastes pretty good, but I'm also getting a little protein boost with it. Fish, salmon is a great source. Tuna, cod, tilapia, shrimp, tofu, or tofu's not seafood, but it's next on my list. Tofu. And then so for vegetarian sources, a lot of things that people think of as vegetarian sources of protein, when you look at the macros, they're really high in carbs. I think of like hummus as one. You think like, oh, I'm going to have this hummus. No, I don't know if you guys saw the thing I posted on Facebook where it was like 4 grams of protein and like 20 grams of carbs. So
Wow.
some of those things that are vegetarian or vegan sources of protein do have protein, but they're not actually like a great source of it. It's more like a carb that has a little protein boost. Same as vegetables. A lot of vegetables have protein. Spinach and broccoli have like a couple grams of protein each, but I would think of them more as just like fiber with a little protein boost. Anything else that I'm missing? Protein bars, protein powder to boost in like oatmeal or something like that. And since we're here, let me show you guys one thing I just discovered. It's amazing. I'll be right back.
Is this new news to any of you, or did you know all this?
It's new to me.
Annie clued me in.
Okay, so these little gems I found at Target. They're Dannon Light and Fit Greek yogurt. They're so good, and they're 80 calories each, 12 grams of protein, no fat, and like 9 grams of carbs. So they're delicious. So that would be like a great thing for like an afternoon snack. Or here's what they look like. This one's coconut, and this one's lemon, raspberry, and strawberry cheesecake. And I've been eating them
So it's
plain.
Dannon what?
It's Dannon Light and Fit. I'll put a picture in the Facebook group.
Oh, yeah, I've had that before. I love it.
Yes. So these are great. And a lot of times people ask me like, what's a good bedtime snack if I'm still hungry or if I'm craving something sweet? And it's actually a protein shake, is because it really helps your body recover both mentally and physically overnight. And this is perfect because it's just sweet enough. It's delicious. It's a perfect little size thing. So this is my like latest find, and I got these at Target. I'm sure they're available anywhere. Okay. So on that note, little plug for Dannon Light and Fit Greek yogurt. That is all I have for tonight. I know we went longer. Thank you for your patience. But like I said, this is like the most important call of the whole week, or the whole 12-week session. So before we log off, any last questions? Okay. So cool. So you guys are clear. You're going to go through, calculate your macros. Let me know once you're done, and I'll go back in and double check it. Probably on Friday. We're going to be driving 13 hours tomorrow, and my computer's like 10 years old, so it doesn't have any battery. I'll check it and make sure everything's looking good with it. And then once you get that, plug it into MyFitnessPal. Take a little time to do some meal planning, some grocery shopping, maybe if you don't have time right now or over the weekend, and get started Monday. That's fine if you want to just kind of let this stuff marinate and officially start with it on Monday. And do your check-in sheet. So you're going to do your check-in sheet Monday or Tuesday by like noon on Tuesday for this week, Monday through Sunday. Okay, so our calls are kind of like midweek. That's all I have. Okay, everyone feel good about this? Everyone excited? Everyone pumped for their like fat loss wish? No, I'm just
it's intense, but it's good.
Kind of intense. It's cool though. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you guys so much. You guys have an amazing night.
And drive safe.
Thank you. I will. I'll be mostly riding and listening to Audible. So
good.
All right,
Thank
you guys.
you. Good night.
Have a great night. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.